Hello everyone and welcome. In this video, we're going to continue coding our snake game, and the goal for today is to create the actual snake and add some movement. So we're going to do this using a class. So let me create a section here called classes, and let me create a class here called snake. So class snake. And let's define our init method. So init self, this is going to take in a few arguments, so x and a y, so the coordinates of the snake, and a color, the color of the snake. Okay, so inside of here, let's say self.x equals x, self.y equals y, self.color equals color. And now let's create a surface. Our snake is going to be a surface. So let's say self.image is going to be PYGAME dot surface, like so. So just like our game window, our snake is also going to be a surface. And the dimensions are going to be tile size, so tile size by tile size, like so. So now we have our surface, which is going to be our snake. Now, everything in PyGame needs to have a rectangle. So every surface in PyGame needs to have a rectangle where it's going to be drawn. So to create a rectangle for our surface, we can say self.rect equals self.image.getRect. And now let's define the top left of our rec. The top left is going to be basically, well, the top left of the rectangle, and we're going to put the self.x and self.y. So our coordinates x and y are going to correspond to the top left corner of the rectangle where we're going to draw our snake. Okay? So now let's define an update method, which is going to basically allow us to draw the snake onto the screen. So inside of here, let's fill first the surface, fill the snake with color, So let's say self.image.fill with the self.color. And now we want to keep the position of the snake inside of the tiles. So keep position of snake inside of tiles. Now the idea is that this x and y are going to correspond to the tile coordinate of the snake. So for example, instead of having actual coordinates, we're going to have, for example, 0, 0. And the coordinate 0, 0, let me just run this to show you. The coordinate 0, 0 is going to be the first tile of our grid. The coordinate 0, 1 is going to be the second tile of our grid. The coordinate 1, 1 is going to be this tile of our grid, right? Now, if we want to use coordinates in this way, we have to multiply the rectangles x and y by the tile size. Because, sorry, let me run this again. I don't know why I closed it. So, for example, this tile is going to be 0, 0. So the actual coordinates of the top left of this tile are going to be 0 times tile size and 0 times tile size, right? It's going to be coordinates 0, 0. The coordinates of the top left of this square right here are going to be tile size by tile size, right? It's going to be, this is going to be the tile 1, 1, right? 0, 1, 0, 1. So this is 1, 1. And the actual coordinates of this tile are going to be 1 times tile size, 1 times tile size. So the coordinates of the top left of this tile are going to be 30 by 30, right? This tile right here is the tile 2, 2. So the coordinates are going to be 60, 60, right? And so on for every tile of our grid. So in order to do this, let's say self.rect.x equals self.x times the tile size. And the same thing for the y, self.rect.y equals self.y times the tile size, like so, okay? And now all we need to do is draw the snake on the screen, okay? To do this, we're going to use the blit function of PyGame. There's going to be a function that's basically going to allow us to draw the snake onto the screen. So let's say screen.blit, and now we need the image that we're going to blit, or the surface that we're going to blit, and where we're going to blit it. So we're going to say self.image, we want to draw the self.image in the self.rect, okay? So now we have everything we need to actually create the snake inside of our window. So let's create an instance of this. Let me say snake equals snake. So we're going to need an X, a Y, and a color. The X and Y are going to be 0, 0. So we're going to start at the tile 0, 0, which is going to be the first tile of the grid. And let me just define a color here in our color section. My snake is going to be green. So let's say 100, 255, and 10, which is going to be the color of the snake. And let's pass it in here. So green. And in here, let me say draw snake, draw snake. And I'm going to say snake dot update. Oops, snake dot update like so. So this should draw the snake onto the screen. And there you go. We have the snake in our top left square. Okay, so now we have the snake drawn, but we can't really move it, right? I'm pressing keys, nothing happens. So let's incorporate some movement for our snake. So up here in my snake class, let's define some attributes for moving. So attributes for moving. Let's say self dot velocity first, which is going to be the velocity of the snake. This is going to be 1. This has to be a whole number because we're going to be moving from one square of the grid to the other. And if you put an integer here, you might end up in the middle of two squares, and we don't want that. So it has to be a whole number. It doesn't have to be 1, it could be anything you want, but it has to be a whole number so that this works properly. Then self.dx is going to be how much the snake is moving in the x-axis. So how much dx is increasing or decreasing. This is going to equal self.velocity by default. So by default, the snake is going to be moving to the right. And now self.dy, which is going to be how much the snake is moving up and down, is going to be 0 by default. Now let's create here a method called move. This is going to take in self. And all we have to do here is add how much the snake is moving to the snake's coordinates. So self.x plus equals self.dx. So the x coordinate is going to add to how much the snake is moving, and then self.y plus equals self.dy. Okay. So now we're going to go down here to our event handler, and we're going to add an event called key presses for moving the snake. So we're going to define which keys we need to press in order to move the snake in a certain direction. So there's an event in PYGAME called key down, which happens when we press any key on our keyboard. So if event.type equals PYGAME.key down, and now we need to check which key we're pressing. If event dot key equals pygame dot k left. So if the key that we're pressing is the left arrow of our keyboard, then we want to move the snake. So we want to say snake.dx is going to equal minus snake velocity, and snake.dy equals 0. Snake.velocity, like so. So basically, when we're pressing the left arrow key, we're going to the left. So our y is going to be decreasing by the snake velocity. So how much the x is going to be decreasing is going to be snake velocity, right? And our y is going to be 0 because we don't want diagonal movement. We only want to move to the left, okay? Now, elif event, actually, let me just copy this, this whole piece of text, and let me say elif the event.key equals pygame.k right. So if we're moving to the right, we want to move by snake velocity in the x-axis, and elif the event.key equals up, then we're decreasing our y, so this has to be y, and dx is going to be 0 because again we don't want diagonal movement. And the last one, so elif event.key equals k down. So this is going to be the down arrow. Our y is going to increase by snake velocity, and our x is going to be 0. x is going to be 0. There you go. So I think we have everything. Let's run this. And first I need to call the method move. So snake dot move. There you go. Now let me run this to see if it works. Okay, so by default we're going to the right. If we click a certain key, then we're going to change direction. Okay. Now, I don't want the snake to be moving right away. I want it to be still at first, and then just when we press a key, it's going to move. So let me create here another attribute called self.moving, which is going to equal false. And now I won't only want to do this if self.moving equals true. So if self.moving, we're going to indent this, okay? And now when I press a key, self.moving is going to equal true because we're moving. Self.moving equals true. And let me, oops, this has to be snake, not self, so snake. And let me copy this, and we're going to put this inside of here, and inside of here. And now I have to define what happens when I release a key, right? Because when I release a key, I don't want to be moving anymore. So I want to say if event.type equals PYGAME.key up, like so. We're going to say snake.moving equals false. It doesn't matter which key I'm going to release because I can only be going in one direction at a time. So anytime I release a key, I'm going to stop moving. Okay? So now this should work. Let me run this. Let me see if it works. Okay, so at first we're still. If I click a certain key, we start going in the direction of that key. If I release, we stop moving. So this is the movement incorporated into our game. So I hope this video was helpful. In this video, we created the snake and added some movement control. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.